Welcome to AviatorDB News Briefing. Today is Monday, July 6th, 2026. Here are today's top stories. SAS Airbus A330neo order is carrier's largest ever fleet investment. Delta Toronto runway accident, CRJ-900 inverts at Pearson, 18 injured. 5 celebrity crashes that exposed costly pilot errors. Pilot killed as Lancair 235 cartwheels off Oregon runway. Now for the details. Scandinavian Airlines SA has placed its largest ever aircraft order, a $10 billion deal for up to 40 Airbus A330 family widebodies, including 18 firm orders for the A330-900neo, the airline announced Monday. Unveiled at a media event in Copenhagen, the SAS Airbus A330neo order also includes options for 10 additional A330-900neos and the lease of 12 A330-300s to support near-term capacity growth. The investment is expected to generate an economic impact of 66 billion Danish kroner, approximately $10 billion, and 25,000 new jobs in Denmark, according to SAS and government officials. The new A330-900neos, powered by Rolls-Royce Trent 7000 engines, will begin arriving later this decade and form the backbone of SAS's long-haul operations into the 2030s. The type offers around 25% lower fuel burn per seat compared with previous generation widebodies, supporting the carrier's sustainability targets. SAS CEO Anko van der Werf called the package the most significant modernization of SAS's fleet, aligning with the airline's strategy to consolidate its widebody operations around the A330neo and potentially the A350. The order positions SAS for expanded transatlantic and Asia-Pacific routes from its Copenhagen, Stockholm, and Oslo hubs, with the leased A330-300s providing bridge capacity while the newer jets are built. Industry analysts view the deal as a vote of confidence in SAS's post-restructuring future and a competitive signal to Nordic rivals. Airbus has logged 489 firm orders for the A330neo family to date, with 189 aircraft delivered as of March 2026. A Delta Airlines regional jet crashed and inverted on landing at Toronto Pearson International Airport, CYYZ, on February 17, 2025, injuring 18 people but causing no fatalities. Delta Connection Flight 48119, operated by Endeavour Air, was arriving from Minneapolis-St. Paul with 76 passengers and 4 crew members when it experienced a hard landing on runway 23. The impact caused landing gear failure, and the Bombardier CRJ-900 came to rest inverted on the snow-covered tarmac. Preliminary findings from the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, NTSB, indicate the aircraft touched down at a vertical descent rate of 1,100 feet per minute, well above the gear's design limit of 720 feet per minute, causing a right main landing gear component to fracture. The collapse triggered a fuel spill and a post-crash fire. The flight deck received a sink rate, warning 2.6 seconds before impact. The TSB, FAA, and NTSB are jointly investigating, with analysis focusing on approach stability, winter runway conditions, and crew decision-making. The incident has renewed scrutiny of stabilized approach criteria and landing gear design margins across the regional jet fleet. Toronto Pearson implemented a ground stop immediately following the accident, and runway 23 remained closed during the initial investigation. Delta Airlines offered $3,000 to each passenger as an advance payment with no conditions attached, though some passengers have since pursued legal action. A string of high-profile aviation accidents spanning 6 decades has repeatedly underscored a grim reality. When pilots make critical errors, the consequences can be catastrophic. A recent analysis by the YouTube channel Pilot Debrief revisits 5 such tragedies, each officially attributed to pilot error or poor decision-making, and each leaving an indelible mark on popular culture and aviation safety. The Day the Music Died, 1959. Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. The Big Bopper, Richardson died when their chartered Beechcraft Bonanza crashed shortly after takeoff from Clear Lake, Iowa. The Civil Aeronautics Board blamed the pilot's inadequate instrument training and spatial disorientation in nighttime IMC. Lynyrd Skynyrd, 1977. The band's Convair CV-240 ran out of fuel and crashed in Mississippi, killing lead singer Ronnie Van Zant and 5 others. The NTSB cited fuel mismanagement and inadequate pre-flight planning. John Denver, 1997. The singer-songwriter's experimental Rutan Long EZ plunged into Monterey Bay after he likely lost control while reaching for a poorly positioned fuel selector valve. Alaya, 2001. The R&B star's overloaded Cessna 402 Billion crashed on takeoff in the Bahamas. Investigators determined the pilot was impaired and not rated for the aircraft type. Kobe Bryant, 2020. The NBA legend, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others perished when their Sikorsky S-76 Billion flew into instrument meteorological conditions and the pilot became spatially disoriented, striking a hillside near Calabasas, California. These accidents share common threads: schedule pressure, inadequate pre-flight planning, and pilots operating beyond their training or aircraft limitations. The NTSB and other investigative bodies have consistently found that such tragedies rarely stem from a single failure, but from a chain of small decisions, often compounded by the subtle pressures of flying high-profile passengers. As pilot debrief host Hoover observes, celebrity status doesn't change the laws of physics. If anything, it adds pressure that can push pilots toward riskier choices. The lessons remain urgent for general aviation and charter operators alike. Strict adherence to weather minimums, weight and balance limits, and conservative aeronautical decision-making are essential to prevent history from repeating itself. A 49-year-old pilot was killed when his experimental Lancair 235 was destroyed in a crash and post-impact fire shortly after takeoff from Twin Oaks Air Park near Hillsboro, Oregon, on June 12, 2026. The aircraft, registered N10CF, was being flown as a solo personal flight under 14 CFR Part 91, according to the National Transportation Safety Board. Local media identified the pilot as Keith Irwin of Warren, Oregon. Multiple pilot-rated witnesses observed unusual events during the takeoff roll on runway 02. The nosewheel lifted off and settled back down more than once, accompanied by fluctuations in engine power and sounds described as heavy or locked-up braking. A witness near the departure end saw the aircraft leave the runway at low altitude, pitch up, then roll left. The left wing struck the ground and the plane cartwheeled before catching fire. The NTSB's preliminary report notes 2 sets of tire skid marks on the runway, a 66-inch gouge at the runway end containing composite rudder fragments, and wreckage located approximately 350 feet north of the runway threshold. The impact ignited a grass fire that local firefighters contained. No ground injuries were reported. The NTSB has not yet determined a probable cause, and the investigation is ongoing. The Lancair 235 is a high-performance, amateur-built experimental aircraft. Investigators have not identified any specific causal factors at this stage of the inquiry. That's all we have for today. You can get the latest aviation news at aviatordb.com.